What does it mean to be a man? Men have been asking themselves this philosophical question for centuries. Some assert its simplicity, while others believe there is far more nuance. I sit firmly in the latter. When I started writing this, my original question was, what is a man? But more accurately, and more importantly, the real question is, what does it mean to be a man? The former question requires a considerable dive into gender as a social construct, which I don't feel qualified to get into in this video. So, can we break this down to a fundamental answer? I don't think it's entirely possible, but a few men rise to meet the challenge. At first glance, Kratos embodies the archetypical man, masculinity bursting at every muscle fiber, oozing unmatched stoicism, and raw, unfettered power. He embodies what most terminally online men strive for on a very surface level. To his credit, Kratos was a fairly complex character even before the modern soft reboot of the God of War series. On a narrative level, Kratos is defined by the mistakes of his past. He is a man burdened with power, rage, and haunted by the ghosts of those he slew, whether they were deserving or not. Kratos was the product of his environment, raised in a brutal culture that glorified battle, his humanity stripped from him at birth. He wasn't raised to be a man, but a weapon, a mindless tool of destruction for the gods to sculpt the art of war. Despite that, he found happiness with another and found a family, but this wasn't enough for him. He sought more power, more glory, and in turn, became exactly what he was raised to do. Kratos, while on the warpath, was tricked into killing his family by the god Ares. He couldn't bear the pain of his guilt any longer and sought to end it all. Then, in an ironic twist of fate, at the precipice of his torment, he was proclaimed the god of war in the hopes of controlling his wrath. Unable to control Kratos, the gods sought to end him once and for all, but not even Hades could contain his strive for vengeance. Kratos slew the gods and all who stood in his way. After many years of being a god, tormented by his past, he desperately wanted to reclaim his humanity. He tried to begin anew, found a wife, and had a son in Midgard. It's from here that Kratos begins his journey to becoming a better man. Often through God of War and God of War Ragnarok, Kratos utters the phrase, "We must be better, better killers, better than those who could not survive." Over the course of their life-changing journey, better developed a new meaning. It means not making the mistakes of the past, making choices for a better future, being better men. Their journey to become better reaches its conclusion at the end of Ragnarok. To be better, Kratos learns that it's not enough to not repeat the mistakes of the past, but to change one's nature into something better. On one of the most beautiful scenes in the story, Kratos goes back on his advice he gave his son Atreus in God of War. At first, he told his son to close his heart to suffering, to ease the pain and survive. But after learning what it means to change, watching his son become a good, kind man, Kratos learns that to be better, we must open our hearts to the suffering of others. Kratos embodies what it means to be a man, not just because he learns from the mistakes of his past, but he opens his heart and mind and learns to trust in others, as his son taught him. This contrasts perfectly with Odin, the titular antagonist of Ragnarok, who is obsessed with changing others and refuses to change himself, and died because he couldn't trust the future to anyone but himself. A man takes responsibility and accountability for his actions, reflecting on why he was wrong and owning his mistakes and doing right by those he did wrong, even to yourself. This ability to reflect and change is crucial to being a man. Whether you are a young man who feels lonely and lost, or an old man with a trail of mistakes dragging behind him, Superman is considered the original superhero, a symbol of peace and justice, and even quite progressive for his time, a role model for children to look up to. Though in recent years, he's been depicted as something more, beyond peace and justice, something no one can relate to. Superman was now a god, and, sometimes more specifically, a Jesus allegory. I can see the appeal from a storytelling perspective, a godlike being who sees himself as a man trying to do the right thing because that's what he was raised to do, not because he's meant to lord over his flawed human subjects. I think there's room to tell these kinds of stories and to do it well. I realized in recent years that this doesn't truly embody the spirit of Superman, even if it is a metaphor that I do enjoy from time to time. Personally, I've never liked the Jesus allegory myself, but that is a discussion for another time. Superman is not a god or Jesus, but simply a very powerful man with a good moral compass. Superman is the most powerful and influential superhero in his world. We are meant to ask ourselves what we would do with such immense power. We could use violence on those who deserve it and may even be justified in doing so. After all, just wars have existed. Someone had to punch those Nazis, even Superman. But as a symbol, Superman teaches us that we should lead by example with kindness and strength. Two bright and powerful beacons to guide the way, not just for young men astray, but for everyone from everywhere. No task is ever too small for Superman, whether it be punching his way through a genocidal monster, to talking to somebody off the edge of a cliff, to saving a helpless squirrel. Empathy, kindness, power, and masculinity can and should go hand in hand. These are not mutually exclusive, no matter what an emotionally unstable, roided out influencer might say if you pay him for his money-making scheme. It can be so easy to be dismissive and cruel to people's feelings. Young men push each other to bury our empathy because often our fathers or men we trust, or the patriarchy at large, condition us to believe empathy is a weakness, unbecoming, or even sinful by today's skewed standards. But there is nothing weak about opening yourself up to others and earnestly reaching out a helping hand. Embracing your feelings takes strength, and helping others shows strength of character. Superman doesn't fight for himself, but for a better tomorrow for all. He gives us reason to be hopeful and inspires that hope. We all can work towards a better tomorrow in the smallest of ways. It just takes a little kindness. These powerful godlike beings are not men because of their great feats of strength or their idealistic masculine aesthetic. Although they physically embody these traits, it's their humanity, despite their tragic pasts and toxic worldviews thrust upon them, that make them the kind of men we should strive to be. I chose these two because they represent two sides of manhood, young and old. Kratos represents hope for old, ignorant people to aspire to grow and change, instead of being set in their ways. And Superman represents the man young boys can strive towards. It can be cool and inspiring to be kind. I'm going to be honest with you for a moment. All my life, and all yours too, I'm sure, whether in my personal life or society at large, the idea of being a man has been thrust upon me. When I was younger, I wasn't sure how to answer the question or what it even meant. As I grew into a young man, I rejected the concept because the qualities of being a man, strength, honor, morals, can be attributed to anyone of any gender. It felt weird, sexist, and backwards. So instead of labeling these qualities with manhood, I use them to define a more inclusive ideal. What does it mean to be a responsible adult? And more importantly, what does it mean to be a good person? Instead of physical strength, I value strength of character. Instead of honor, I value why you honor and how you honor it. Not all moral systems benefit the most people, i.e., religious and political. I value moral systems that benefit the most people possible. Are you kind, helpful, and respectful whether they deserve it or not? Do you fulfill your responsibilities to the people you are responsible for and to your community? Are you open-minded and willing to change when you are wrong? More importantly, are you capable of admitting you could be wrong? Through careful thought, rigorous study, and active listening, I've determined these are the qualities of a good person to the best of my abilities. But in recent years, I've been putting more thought and consideration into the question, Despite my views, it seems that much of the world still deeply cares about this question. What is manhood? What does it mean to be a man? I used to brush it off in a stuck-up progressive way. My values still stand. I still believe that ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, it's not as important as asking yourself what it means to be a good person. But I can't ignore that many young men, this question still burns inside them, to such an extent that they decided to embrace fascism and elect a would-be dictator because he promised purpose. He promised retribution. Good people, good men, so deeply confused and unsure of themselves, look towards the worst of us for answers because they feel forgotten by those who should represent the best of us. The progressive movement fights for the marginalized and distraught, and this makes men feel left behind. But they should not be left out of the movement, but included, their voices shouting in solidarity with their fellow people. Men struggle as much as anyone, perhaps not as much as the marginalized, but that does not mean they should be left out of the fight for a better world for all. Hey guys, I was editing this video and I wanted to elaborate on something I wrote about the progressive movement including men and having them included in the conversations. I do want to mention that men, whether they are included or whether they stand with us for a better tomorrow, they are benefiting from progressive movements advocating for equality for themselves, because it adds up to being equality for all. Just wanted to get that out of the way. Something I didn't think about when I originally wrote this essay. However, as I pointed out before, men need to take responsibility for their actions as well and rise to the occasion. There is a deeper discussion of whether these feelings of loneliness are a product of society's backwards views or men's own insecurities and misogyny biting them in the ass, or both. But it still stands that men, especially young men, feel lost and alone. Men are vulnerable and ripe for exploitation. They need an ideal to strive towards. The best attributes of what makes a man are those that anyone can embody regardless of their identity, circumstances, or whatever society dictates. Ultimately, whatever makes a man is up to you. However you come to that conclusion, I hope you lead with kindness and empathy and a willingness to change for the better. We must be better for truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. I hope this video found you, especially when you needed it the most. I hope I reached someone, even a single person, and all of this work would be worth it. I would love it if you guys could tell me in the comments below what you think a man is. I would love to read your responses. Maybe make me rethink what I think a man could or should be. I would love that. While I have you here, I just want to let you know that I have written a book. It's called OREGONIA and the Legend of the Myce, and there will be a link in the description below. I also wanted to update you guys on my next novel, the sequel to OREGONIA. Progress is slow, but I did manage to get a decent chunk of the outline done a while ago. I have my daughter. She was born just a couple months ago, so I've been spending most of my time taking care of her and our son and my wife. If I can find a nice, decent flow, maybe I could really make some progress soon. But until then, progress is just going to be slow. But in the meantime, please read my book. Thanks again for watching. I really super duper appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will see you in the next one. Peace.